What's up, everybody? It's Keefe from Ghost Cult Magazine, ghostcultmag.com, and I'm here with Ethan from Great American Ghost. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? How are you?
I am awesome. Welcome back to New York City. Welcome to Brooklyn.
Thank you.
We are here for the big hardcore metal show tonight here at the Kingsland. A little bit of both, mostly metal. You guys have been across the whole country with Body Snatcher, fucking crushing tour, a lot of great bands. First of all, new record, Power Through Terror, out right now on E1. And as I mentioned before we started rolling, love the record. And let's talk about this. You're on tour with a brand new record. You guys have had a pretty, strong, consistent career releasing records. So, clearly right off the bat, you guys playing a lot of new songs. How is the new material going over with the fans?
It's cool. It's good. I feel like it's going over well. We released it 2 weeks ago on Friday, because that's when you release records. It's when everyone releases records. And now, we're playing the songs. We opened with 2 new ones, which at the beginning of the tour was super awkward because people were like, don't know what the fuck this is. But then now we're 2 weeks into it and kids know the words. So that's good. So that means that maybe they're listening to the record and stuff, and that's cool. Thank you, by the way, for saying that you liked it. I appreciate that.
And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the words because actually it's some of my favorite lyrics ever from
Thank you.
It's very thoughtful. Always, kind of a hostility, but very nice, a lot of nice wordplay and, not too verbose, but I love what you do lyrically with stuff, really get to the heart of the matter. Not a lot of dancing around.
No, I'm not good at that.
Poetry. It's this is how I feel.
Yes.
A lot of fuck you in the words without saying fuck you.
I was explicitly instructed not to say as many fucks. That was it. Yeah, well, they're in a lot of our songs.
Yes.
And it was maybe let's chill out on the fucks. Okay. That was one of the goals of the record.
Some metal radio play.
Right.
Radio.
Yeah,
you can have a lot of fucks.
Right. You can have some.
You can have some. You can give no fucks. You just can't say them.
Right.
Explicitly.
You cannot give them. Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I always appreciated what you do, and it is. I know it's very cliche to say this is our best record, but this is your best record to me. Having followed the band, as I said, for a long time, a former resident of Boston and New England, and I've gotten to see you guys many times live, tear it up, and this is a really complete record. I love the songs, and we were jokingly chatting beforehand again about sometimes the chat before the interview is as good as the interview or better.
Well, it's because you're not on film.
Because you're not on film, you're just chilling. But we were talking about sort of Boston and New England DNA of things. And what I was going to say is the metal DNA of your band and also on this record, I hear a lot of cool, Bury Your Dead stuff, which, in general, that's every band that's ever come out of that scene sounds like that. But also, for real. But also the Red Chord, which I mentioned I love a lot. And I hear a lot of guitar stuff and a lot of angular riffs and stuff that just kind of will surprise you. So I love pointing that stuff out and chatting about it with you. What do you think? What kind of influences went into this record beside yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we grew up. So I really do believe that the location in which you are raised inherently affects your art. It has to. As well as I do, New York and Boston, even though we want to act like we're not super similar, we are extremely similar. And so, being cold all the time and being fucking mean, I think comes with being cold all the time. But, that kind of stuff, just affects you. We're just not as laid back. It's just very much forward, always moving forward. That's how New York is. That's how Boston is. So that's kind of what comes through in our music. But alternatively, I mean, we said before the camera started, it's you get these influences that you don't even really realize that you're getting. For me personally, I really love Boston hardcore. I really like the second wave of Boston hardcore, or the third wave technically, which would be American Nightmare and Hope Conspiracy and Suicide File and 10 Yard Fight and Slapshot, like you said. All those bands really influenced me when I was growing up. So that kind of stuff is in my vocals, just without us being a hardcore band, because we're not. In my opinion, we're a metal band. Yeah. So, but it comes through me. It inherently does. And then for Nico's a younger dude who writes our instrumentals and stuff. So, like you said, Bury Your Dead. He hears from Bury Your Dead. I mean, he loves Slim. I know Slim. You know what I mean? It's this weird dynamic where he's a lot younger than I am. So he grew up thinking Slim was the fucking best dude in the best guitar player in the world. He is the best dude in the world, but it's he's also a friend of mine. So it's this interesting dynamic where we're influenced by these bands that I came up playing shows with or doing security for, like the Acacia Strain and like bands like that, whereas Nico like loved those bands. So it's interesting, our mixture of influence is like, it's real. I mean, he, you know, like Nico, when he first joined the band, he really like he likes the Ghost Inside a lot. I love the Ghost Inside because I love those dudes, you know, like Jim and I used to tour with Vanna. So I just like, we've just grown up with those guys, but Nico doesn't know them. He just loves them. So their music is influenced into us, and it's a cool thing. It's a cool dynamic. I'm really thankful because honestly, if I just made a band, it would just be boring old guy shit, you know? And instead I made a band and it's young guy shit with like a boring old guy thread. You know what I mean? That's me.
That is amazing.
I'm the boring old guy.
The hashtag boring old guy.
Yeah.
So much to unpack. First of all, I love Vanna. I was at their last show.
Oh.
That band, I wish would come back.
I was too.
So we again, Palladium.
I played an end that night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, everything is
A shining moment.
Yeah. Well, we all have ours. I think you have many more to come based on this record and things like this tour. Slim is not my friend, but I'm gonna tell you, Slim is one of the nicest people ever and a riff monster.
He is.
So good. But I hear a lot of that stuff in you guys, and I really appreciate kind of the growth of the band. Did you feel like a lot of pressure coming to this record? It's like somewhat new relationship with E1, and like you said, less fucks on the record. But in general, did you feel any kind of pressure?
The less fucks thing was just me. That was just me and Will.
Right.
But E1, the only thing that E1 said was they were like, we want one guitar solo. There's one guitar solo on the record. That's all E1 wanted.
That's amazing.
But they let us do whatever we wanted.
Okay.
To answer your question, yes, and then immediately no. So like, we were in kind of a rough spot. Like when we first started writing the record, it's a very precarious situation to be in when you're in a band and you're not signed, because you could fade away and no one would give a shit. You know, like you don't owe anybody money, you don't have any tours, you don't have anything lined up. So like if you just faded away, no one would care. So like that option was explored for us. You know, we had some inner turmoil. Nico almost went and joined another huge fucking metal band. And it all kind of was like this tumultuous thing where we were putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, writing these songs and stuff, but then Nico and I weren't really speaking as much. And so we were just purely business. We would just send songs back and forth. And so we were putting so much pressure on ourselves to do something good and to do something great. We like knew we needed to change what we did. It just wasn't. Hatred is an okay record and I like it decently, but it's not us. And when we made it, we knew it wasn't us. So it was like, we have to make this record that defines our band, and that's a lot of fucking pressure. But then the second we got in the studio, the pressure was gone. And I just didn't give a fuck. No fucks. Like, we just didn't care. Like, we wrote a record that we wanted to write. And like, I realized probably in the last day that I hadn't thought once about if anyone would like it. Which E1 would probably really hate hearing me say, but that's true. It's like, at no point was I like, man, I wonder if someone's gonna like this breakdown or like this song without a breakdown or like this random bullshit, you know, like whatever we did or didn't do. Never once was I like, I hope kids like this, which is not to say that I don't care if kids like it. It's more to say that like, we just made a record that we felt like we needed to make. So that was it, you know? So the answer to your question is, yeah, there was a ton of pressure and then there was no pressure at all.
Nice. Well, that's, especially from the creative standpoint, when that kind of coalesces, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Actually, I think E1 has done a great job with you guys. They very typically don't have two bands that are ever alike on that whole label, almost never.
It's nice.
And they do they get a nice diverse label that has a lot of different things. Again, just bought recently by Hasbro, so now you are on the...
I'm a toy.
You have the same company as G.I. Joe and Voltron.
I am in fact a toy.
And also Snoop Dogg and Wu-Tang from
They
E1.
said they're gonna make an action figure of me.
That's amazing.
They
Really?
did say that. If you squeeze him, I bet he'd probably say fuck. You know,
That's
like
amazing.
something like
it's
that.
too bad you don't have you said you know, you're originally not from New England, but it's too bad you don't have like a really terrible Boston accent.
I am from New England.
Are you? Okay.
I am. I'm an English boy. My mother's English, but I
okay.
am from New England.
But you don't have either accent.
No, I don't. I didn't get any accent. I ended up with this like very straightforward,
Right.
just dude voice. I don't know. Unfortunately, they do say that when I get pissed off, I do start. I get a little like ass.
Okay.
Like fuck you, fucking asshole. Like that starts coming out. So yeah, it happens. But
I was there for 11 years, and I still sound like a douche from the Bronx. So
no, hey,
all the wrong sports teams.
You can't get rid of the Bronx accent.
You can't. And the talking with the hands, which is why my hands are in my pocket, because this lav
I do too, though.
No microphone today. I don't know what to do with my hands, so they just stay.
Right.
Right.
The microphone is helpful because when you're doing this, you feel more important. But when you're talking, this guy starts
more
happening.
Important. We're gonna keep that. More
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
The microphone
Exactly.
less important. But I appreciate you. And I think E1 appreciates you. They've done a really nice job, and your PR has done a very nice job of getting the word out, because it's important. Like you said, you could fade away if you don't stay active, if you don't keep fans invested. And it's kind of a challenge, and it's kind of the challenge of all bands. In some ways, it was the onus was never on the band to promote themselves other than situations like this.
Right.
So do you feel kind of, you guys have a pretty engaged following on social media and stuff like that. Do you feel that it's sort of like a give and a take between in person with the mic in your hand, yelling at a kid singing back to you, or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram?
I think it's really connected. I think it's the same because I feel like I just try to think about the way I was, and like any little bit of the human being that a band was the most important piece of information I could obtain, Like I wanted to know what Joe Strummer was like, because I can listen to The Clash, whatever, there's fucking hours and hours of Clash music because they've made so many double records for some reason. But like, I can listen to that shit for forever, but I want to know like what Joe Strummer thinks or says, and back in the day it was really hard. I mean, it was like super fucking hard to find any of that. You'd have to find it on like VHS or whatever. That's why like Pantera was so cool, because you could find a fucking Pantera VHS and watch them be the way they were. And I think that shit's important. Like with us, I just try and talk to people on the internet like I talk to people in person. And then like when we're done playing, if somebody wants to talk to me, like I just try and talk to them. I mean, this is what I do with my life. So any interest in it at all is so wildly appreciated that it's like, how could I ever be like, I'm gonna go to the van and just like sit there, It's like, that's not me. I'm more like, we get done playing and I go straight to merch, because I just want I want to talk. Like I want to talk to these people that make it possible for me to travel around and be like basically a hobo, essentially a hobo.
Yell at a stick.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Awesome. It's funny, I was just talking with somebody about those Pantera home videos today, and it's true, and I think they were following like the same. Metallica had a home video when Cliff passed away. It was the same thing. Like, this is how they live. This is crazy. Now, obviously,
and you were like, wow, Pantera is so much less dicky than Metallica. This is so interesting.
A little bit, especially over that arc of the time when they were one band was getting insanely rich and big, and the other band was kind of like, we're still busting our ass, but it's fine.
But putting out number one records.
I'm trying, right? Well,
that arguably no one put them on TV, but they were like the biggest metal band in the world, and no one knew it.
Far Beyond Driven was the first album to ever chart number one on Billboard for metal. That's insane. It's insane it took that long, like almost 35 years for that arc to happen. But
hey man, whatever, I appreciate it.
I'm trying to think if there's a hardcore or a metal band that's a little more modern in this context that's done like a home video lately that I think has that same kind of swerve and swagger. I don't know.
I don't think so. I haven't seen one. It's difficult though. It's difficult. Everyone's so curated, and I'm not saying that as like an insult. It's just E-Tid. Every time I die, hands down.
Sure.
Shit happens. Like changed my life,
right.
And this is awkward now because if any of those dudes see this, I like know them enough to know that it would be weird for me to tell them this, but they like that shit happens changed my life. I watch that every day, every day. Like when I toured with Vanna, Davey from Vanna and I still quote Shit Happens, and Vanna tours with Every Time I Die, so it was like very awkward where we were like, we have to make sure not to make these dudes jokes in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to know that I spent every day of high school watching Shit Happens.
This is our punchline. We're actually hoping to interview Keith at some point, but yes, we should. I've seen that.
Wildly intelligent.
Yeah. Super smart. I met him. Dude. We've met. Just never had a chance to chat too much, but we definitely met, and he's great.
The last time I saw him was at Warped Tour, and him and I don't really know each other. We just know like of each other. We've seen each other around, whatever. And we were both watching Frank Turner, because Frank Turner's great. And we were at Warped. It was this, like a couple of years ago. And we were watching Frank Turner, and this kid walked by, and he like looked at me, and then he looked at Keith, and then he threw up all over himself, and it like landed on both of our shoes. And I looked at Keith, and he looked at me, and I was like, and I left. I was like, that was no words. It was just like, I don't know if you even would remember that, but that was literally like, that was it.
It sounds like
I was like head nodded him, and I was like, I'll see you in hell.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Be by myself.
I'm gonna go away from here.
I feel like that's a story you would remember that happening.
Probably.
Unless you were
he probably does.
in disrepair.
Yeah.
For some reason.
No, I don't think so. We're just standing there. So yeah, I mean that was my memory of that.
That's a good story. Yeah, man. So as we wind this down, I just have a couple more questions for you. I want to give you back your pre-show time. I really appreciate the time. But you know, being that these shows, we were at the LA show, we had covered it and reviewed it, and the report from my team there was it was a brutal show, and I know, you know, there's a physicality to metal and sort of these underground genres. Your part of it, your performance is physical. The fans are physical. Do you feel like you help bring that on, obviously with the music and the vocals, but also do you think it adds or takes away when there's a lot, you know, that's like a central part of the evening?
I don't know. I think that it's so strange to like exist in a subculture as long as I have or you have, and it's become so normal that you don't really even think about it. I definitely think that it can add and it can subtract. I mean, if it's like gratuitous and uncalled for, then I think that it's subtracting. I think that anything that excludes a person from something like this, a subculture, which the reason that you're into a subculture is because you are not accepted into like mainstream culture. So if it's making anyone feel like they're not being accepted adequately, then I think that it's subtracting. I wouldn't want that. I don't want that at all. But equally, you know, the first show I ever went to was a Misery Signal show with Remembering Never. Not the first show, but like one of the first ones. And it was at the Bomb Shelter in Manchester, which you've probably been to. And it was a nightmare. And it was nuts. It was terrifying. And I remember being really scared because I was a kid. But that fear was what made me, I'm like, I need this, like all the time. And maybe it's like an adrenaline junkie weird thing. Like it's like skydiving or some shit. But it makes you feel this certain way. It makes you feel accepted. It makes you feel like maybe how angry you feel isn't so weird and all these things. I think that it's important, you know, like I do think that a certain level of physicality that is brought to metal is an important part of it, you know. Any asshole can go watch, you know, John Mayer, but like, you know, not everybody can watch a metal show, you know, like people can't hang. And I'm not even saying like in a violent way. I'm saying literally like people, it takes a certain kind of person to like this kind of music. That's the craziest part. It's like, you know, and it's kind of like when we gauge everything on this like sloping scale for metal. Like when you sell 2,000 copies of a record, everyone's like, wow, it was really good. But then like you go look at like a rapper and they have 9 million Spotify plays and they're like, well, that's a pretty small rapper. And you're like, dog, if I had 9 million Spotify plays, I'd be psyched. 9 million people don't even like our music. You know what I mean? It's like, there's no way.
Possibly, yeah.
Right. So it's like, we are a very small subculture. So as long as people are feeling accepted into this, then that's all I really care about.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's where my concern is sometimes because I love moshing and I used to mosh all the time and now less so much, but we all did. Yeah. Old guy, hashtag old guy stuff. But, you know, getting old now, things don't recover like I used to. But I worry about like something like sometimes it's excessive or like you said, gratuitous crowd killing and stuff like that. I always want heavy music, punk, hardcore, metal. I want it all to be inclusive, and I love that you talked about that. You know, we're all really part of one bigger subculture together, and there's definitely not that strife and that split anymore like when I was a kid. But I'm glad we're through all that mess. But yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to ever feel unwelcome because the idea is that everyone is allowed and welcome.
And that's the thing, like that I think is the most important. If you want to exclude yourself from those kind of activities at a show, I think that it should be completely acceptable to exclude yourself. The crowd killing thing, I think, is it's a gray area because, you know, like let's be really frank. I mean, before cell phones, we were all like that. Like, I mean, that's how shows were for us at home, and it was a shit show. It's like it wasn't just like you're gonna mosh in your little designated section. And the fact that I'm talking about this as a 31-year-old man is crazy. But you know, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like, you know, here you go, you got your little square and you just stick in your square. It was a shit show. I mean, like I am guilty of like jumping on people and jumping off of things and being a total lunatic. And so the crowd killing thing now, I think, is mostly a thing because there's a lot of recording. You can record everything, but I think it's good because you should be able to exclude yourself from that situation. You should be able to stand back and enjoy if you just want to stand there and feel that energy, because the energy in the room is kinetic, not Connecticut. The energy is kinetic, so it's like you're feeling it whether you're, punching each other in the face or you're just standing in the back. It's like, especially with a room like this, I mean, like Kingsland is fucking tiny. So it's like, you're not gonna stand in that room and not feel that in some way. You should be able to exclude yourself from that, and people should respect that space. So that's what I think.
But also, some kid is going to get drove into that pillar in the middle tonight for sure. Really bad. Really bad. But let him pick him up if he falls.
When you load into a venue and you see a pillar, you're like, God.
It's like paradise.
That pillar.
So depressing.
Dude. Well,
I love that place, but also like, no.
We used to go to shows in the Paradise basement.
Oh, yeah.
We think there's fucking pillars there.
Yeah,
Jesus
of course.
Christ.
Right.
I saw This Is Hell and Comeback Kid there.
Yeah.
And
that sounds crazy.
It was crazy. And there were so many pillars. Lots of accidents. It's like an obstacle course of sweaty dudes.
A lot of dislocated wrists
and arms,
busted arms and legs.
Yes.
So yeah, man, I appreciate that's a little bit of history right there. I hope people are appreciating all this stuff that Ethan is putting down, man. You're not that old. You're old, but you're old enough to remember some cool shit.
I was a young.
It's not like the Rat and the Channel.
I was a young kid. I was very young.
Right.
When I used to go.
Sure.
All my friends were older, so I'm lucky. I'm 30 now, and I have the memories of like a 35-year-old because I was like 16 going to the Paradise, and everyone there was like, yeah, just go in. I was super not supposed to be in there. Yeah, just go ahead.
Just go.
I was definitely not supposed to be in the bomb shelter.
For sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
And
no,
actually, nobody.
Arguably, no one should have been in the bomb shelter.
Yeah, what a mess. So this tour is winding down. New record is out now. People are going to get acquainted with it. What else is on the horizon for Great American Ghost that you can talk about?
I can't talk about any of it.
Can't talk about any of it.
No, I can't talk about any of it.
All right, that's fine.
I'll talk about it vaguely.
Okay, that's fine.
Vaguely. We're going to play some festivals this summer in America. We're going to play some cool stuff. I actually just got a couple emails today, which are dope, and we're very, very thankful for the opportunities we're getting. We are going to go back to Europe at some point soon, and we're going to hit other continents that we have not hit yet.
Amazing.
Very soon.
All right. Well, we're going to be on top of all that news. I really appreciate hanging out with you and finally getting to connect with you and hang out with you and do this memory lane.
We've accidentally seen Cro-Mags together so many times.
We have seen Cro-Mags accidentally so many times.
Yes.
Personally, it was always worth it. But
I
hope you felt so
Come
too.
on now, of course.
Yeah, for real. If you like interviews like this with me and Ethan, please like and subscribe to Ghost Call on YouTube. I am Keefe from Ghost Call Mag. This is Ethan, Great American Ghost. We're out.